It's that t-shirt, it's that shorts weather that we are loving right now. Oh, I feel at home when the weather is like this. Woo! First thing on the agenda as we start the day, guys, is food. Am I gonna get this? Nah, bro, I don't think I'm gonna go for the doner. Swiss supermarkets tend to have some pretty good food. Here's a good, like, healthy, fresh selection right here. This is not too bad, but it's more for the vegetarians out there. You can see, like, they got the sandwiches, they got the Caesar salad, the salads. This is not bad either. What should I go for though? Even got the little falafel tricolor right here. And price-wise, we're talking $7.95 in francs. What, 10 US dollars, 9 something US dollars. And you can even get the stuff right here, right next to the muesli bars. All right. But I love this place. It's my old stomping ground. It is called Pizzeria. So let's just hop in here. I think I'm gonna get the halloumi, just like falafel and halloumi. Hausgemachte iced tea, which is like a homemade iced tea. Let's give it a go. I think it comes out of this. So, ja, Ace halloumi.
Ja, so.
Ja, für hier. Und Ace tea.
Okay.
Ja. Alright, food has just arrived. Bit of hummus here. Oh, very good. Let's have a bite. I don't have a bite, there's this hummus just all crowded there. Very good. Now the iced tea. Tastes pretty homemade. 2 thumbs up. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, man. I think it's for a hairdresser. Alright, good promotion, good promotion. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions during this challenge on my Instagram inbox, on my YouTube comments, TikTok, etc. And I think there's a few common ones, so I just want to answer them real quick. Just doing the little work in this space today. But I thought there's some good questions here, right? So number one, first question I get, all right? Joining a team at under 18s, is it too late? Guys, joining a team when you're under 8s, under 18s, under 28s, it doesn't matter what age you join a team. You can join a team at any age. Now, I think where people get this twisted is at 18, is it too late for me to progress? At 22, at 15, at 26, whatever the age might be, is it too late for me to progress? And my answer to that is, I think you know it, it's always no. It's always no. You know, for me, as long as you can walk, as long as you can run, and as long as you basically don't have any injuries, well, you can do whatever you want. You can get better. It just takes you doing the work. But people get this all twisted in their mind that they're too old, they're too this, they're too that, and they never end up trying. What I always say to everyone is train, try, train, try. If you fail, get the feedback, try again, try again, try again. And that is something that does not include age whatsoever. It just requires your belief and your effort. Second one that I got here is, what level league do you play at in Australia? The next one here is, how do you fund being able to travel and participate in tryouts? So when I was younger, what I basically did was work for my own money, and then I go travel somewhere and then come back. And usually I pay this for myself from the jobs that I was working or whatever work I was doing. Sometimes I go like halvies. Sometimes I go halves with my parents or something like that. But I wanted to be independent. This is the kind of thing I wanted to really make my own journey. So yeah, I either go halves or I just fund it myself. Go somewhere for a week or 2 or 3, come back, and just go all over again and again and again and again. When I did the 100 Days to Pro last time, I had some savings from working in a bank, and I basically used those savings to then really go for it for 2, 3, 4 months. So yeah, that just came from me saving for a long time. Nowadays, well, I'm the creator of Train Effective. Train Effective is pretty popular, so yeah, I get a salary from that. Then the last question I got here is, why don't you try play MPL before anything? Well, none of your business, bruh. I actually already have. I have played in the MPL before, in the senior team when I was younger. So it's not new to me. I've played at the semi-pro level, high semi-pro level before. So this whole thing going from Sunday League to where we are now in Europe, it's not new to me. It's not like I'm really taking a huge, massive leap just because I've had the experience before of being in that middle. So actually, I think this might be a good time to talk about the tryouts that I've had before. I think a lot of you guys will be interested in this, just with my history, kind of how I got these tryouts and things like that. I think you might enjoy this. So hey, let me walk you through. This is one thing in Europe, by the way, just while I'm walking. See all this like playground equipment? It's not playground equipment, it's like sandbox equipment. This sandbox equipment, like people just put it in here and anyone can kind of use it. In Australia, this stuff just gets vandalized. Like, you set that up in Australia, bro, the stuff's gone in 3 weeks. People have probably peed in that box. It's not possible, unfortunately. And so yeah, I've decided to sit here and talk about it with you guys, about the 5 best clubs that I've been able to have a tryout at. I'm going to go into how I got scouted at each one, my experience, and then the outcome. So let's get into every single one. Number 1 was FC Volendam. Okay, now this is a club. It's close to Amsterdam in Holland. I believe last season they played in the Dutch First Division, so it's a good team. This opportunity happened when I lived in Holland, in Amsterdam, and I was there looking for a team, and I contacted a guy named Eric on LinkedIn. And I contacted him because he said he's a football scout. So contacted him, sent him my highlight video, explained a bit who I am, etc. And he basically said, all right, I'll talk to the coach. He actually ends up talking to the coach, comes back to me, I believe a week or 2 later, and he said, Nick, he wants to see you at training. So I was like, bet, let's go. Rock up to the training facility, which the training facility was actually just the stadium. So it was the Volendam Stadium. It had a 4G Astro pitch. So that means the teams would train on it as well and play on it. And I'd go there. My 1-day trial got extended to a week. And from that 1 week, it got extended to 6 weeks. So I felt myself getting better every single week. I got along with the coach really well. I got along with the players pretty well as well. And this was my first experience of playing at that elite Dutch level where my teammates were former Ajax players, Utrecht players, some of the best European academies, some of the best global academies these players have played at. So it was a great experience. Now, the outcome of this, what happened? At the end of the 6-week period, the coach says, hey, Nick, come in my office. And the assistant coach is there. And I've been getting better every single week as this process is going on. So I was going in that room thinking, this is it. This is a moment. I remember still, this is a moment. It's going to work out. And the coach sits me down and he says, Nick, you've been doing really well. We've been seeing you getting better every single week. But I've just talked to the first team manager. And the first team coach wants to see a player that can hop in immediately into the first team and make a difference. Now, I was 19, just turned 19 at that time. First proper experience training and playing regularly at that elite European level. Was I good enough at that point? Probably not. And so the coach said, look, we have to make a decision. And right now it's a no. And so that was the end of the Volendam experience, but I had a top time. That experience, by the way, is normal with so many academy players. You go up the ranks and then you get to the reserve team level, under 21s, and they got to make decisions. And out of a squad of 20, maybe 1 or 2 are going to get into the first team. And so for me, it was like being at that level and kind of experiencing a little bit of that heartbreak that a lot of academy, a lot of reserve players feel. But it's part of the journey, part of the process. And that is the cutthroat nature of elite football. The second one, now, this is not a club per se, but it's with a group. And that group was with the Australian under-17 national team. I got this opportunity by going to the Australian Institute of Sport website. Now, the AIS, as it was called back then, had a website you could just contact, reach out to people. And I knew that the AIS is where the Australian national team under 17s would be training and playing. The best of Australia basically lived at that institute. So I sent an email and I basically said, hey, my name's Nick, I'm from Canberra, where the players were based. I actually play in Europe at the moment. I'm coming back for holidays. Hey, can I train with you guys? Can I try out with you guys? Now, I did this expecting no response. It's the national team, you'd think they have pathways, identification, processes, because this is the top 15, top 20 in Australia that are at this institute. You think it's a holy grail, right? Can't be just some random kid making an email. But I got a reply back, and Jan Verscheilen, who was the coach at the time, said, hey, come on over. And so I did. This was my first proper experience of that elite environment. So the kits were laid out, the latest balls, the latest pitches. The coaches were Jan, and then the second coach was Gary Van Egmond, who was an A-League winner. So these were some top coaches who knew what they were doing. Pretty much all the players that I'd trained with the 3 days that I was there at the AIS, all of them basically became pros. They played in the A-League, they played abroad. Most of them basically made a living off playing football, which is amazing. I had a great time there during my Christmas break when I was just visiting Australia. And then the same process again. Coach says, come on in, come in the dressing room, let me evaluate. And the coach basically says to me, hey, you're a good player, but we have two players you'll be competing for spots with, and that's Mustafa Amini and a guy called Tommy Orr, who at that time was some of the best young talents in Australia. Jan would basically make the hand movements like, this is Mustafa and Tommy, and this is you, just under. And that's why we're not going to give you a spot in the Australian national team. All right, cool. Shook everyone's hand, and that was that. I took the feedback on board and decided that I was going to get better. Just for some context, guys, okay, 12 months before that, I was like nothing. I just was training a couple hours a week, just doing this stuff for fun. But the months prior to this opportunity, I was training every day, training 20 hours a week. And so even to just get that opportunity at that point, bro, that meant everything to me. And it was a good piece of feedback. Third team that I had to try out with was Vasas SC. This is another Hungarian club. I was living in Hungary when I was younger. I was 17 at the time, and I've been playing in this local amateur Hungarian team with a lot of adults. And one of my teammates knew the club president of Vasas SC, a professional club in Budapest. And I know that guy talked highly of me to that sporting director, and the sporting director basically said, hey, come on in. So I did. I came to one session during pre-season, and there was a lot of running, I remember. Not much games, just running. And that was it. I trained one session with him. So that experience was fun, another opportunity to test myself at that level. And I never really heard anything back, but the feedback that I did hear from a friend of a friend who plays in the academy, he was like, oh yeah, the coach didn't pick you because you didn't speak Hungarian. And that's true, I didn't speak a word of Hungarian. I was this Australian guy training with an all-Hungarian team who were all speaking Hungarian, didn't speak in English. So I guess the coach just didn't like that. Look, you really never know in football why yes, why no. Like, it's always kind of a bit vague. A lot of people not completely transparent with you. But that's the feedback that I got with that one. Number 4, and we've talked about this one. I've talked about it in a previous day of the video, so make sure you check that out if you want to know the full story. But this was with AFC Wimbledon. I got this opportunity again just by finding an email on the club website, emailing it, getting a reply a few weeks later. A guy named Mark Robinson replied to me, said, come on in. I did. And that was not the professional experience I'd been thinking about in my head. This was on a power league pitches, very basic. Only one coach or two coaches with about 30, 40 kids. So it was very basic. The main thing about the outcome of that is understanding that the speed of play in England was really, really fast. 1-2 touch speed of play, 3 times higher than it is in Australia. And so that was the main takeaway for me with that. It's not like I was out of place there. It was more like I have to get used to the speed of play and understanding how can you make a difference when the speed of play is so much higher there compared to Australia, Europe, or the rest of the world. That's the main takeaway I got from that. 5th one. Now, this was again in Hungary, and it was with a team called Kazanyspárishka SC, the Hungarian second division club, at least at the time. And I just turned 18 years old. My coach/mentor,
John Moses, who actually ended up accompanying me in the last 100-day challenge and ended up becoming a train effective coach, got this opportunity for me. Mo had played for Budapest Honved in Hungary, famous Hungarian club. Mo's ex-pro, so he has all these contacts, and he basically recommended me to this one club. So we drive out there. It's like 2 hours away from Budapest, in the middle of nowhere. Okay, this place literally is in the middle of nowhere. It's like a kind of seemed like a poor countryside kind of town. Real adventure for me there. But hey, ended up going there, shared the apartment with a couple of players who were really nice to me. The facilities were pretty basic, but this was a full-time footballing environment. And I remember I got there, they firstly tested me with like the youth players to see how I do. I did well with the youth players, so the second training session was with the first team. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm only 18, they're putting me with the first team. I thought, hey, let's give it a go. I actually ended up doing decent with the first team, training with them all week until it came to the game on the Saturday. And I remember we had a friendly match Saturday, professional friendly match in this stadium. Kind of looked like an old Coliseum. These are how Hungarian stadiums were at the time. Probably still are, just kind of old, and a lot of places like just need to be demolished or replaced. But hey, we go there. And I end up starting in this pro friendly match, and it ends up being like one of the best matches I've ever played. I actually end up scoring the first goal of the match. Uh, was very close to making a couple of more assists, and we end up winning the match like 2-1. But I had a really, really good performance. When I first rocked up to this club, they were a bit like, who's this guy? He's from Australia. Like, who is he? And I just remember the little bit of skepticism on their faces. I remember the coach was even sitting me down like, Nick, you need to be better than Hungarian national team players if you want to make it in this team. And so maybe he was trying to intimidate me or whatever. But after that match, the coach and the staff sat me down and they're like, hey, Nick, we want you. Now, this was not the fanciest of facilities, but this was a full-time environment. You're getting paid to play football, do what you love, and they offered me a contract. And you think to yourself, right, wow, they offered you a contract, go for it. And I got driven down from the club back to Budapest with like the personal driver of the club, and it seems like they're really trying to look after me. And I was like, wow, I feel like a star right now. I feel like wanted. This is great. In football, that's what you crave. In elite sports, that's what you crave. And a few days later, Mo basically looks at the contract and says, okay, Nick, yeah, you're a paid player, but if you get injured, you're not going to get paid. And like, it just looks a bit dodgy. I wouldn't do this. I think better to go for another opportunity. Don't spend this. And I was like, cool, all right, yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere anyway. Do I want to be there? And so said no, and never talked to the coach, never talked to any of the players, never saw the club again. Now, this was really positive, but looking back, was it the right move? So in theory, if I'd said yes to being in that team, I would have been on transfer market, which is like the football database. I would have been making first team appearances in professional football, and I would have been only 18 years old, this Australian with a British passport playing in Hungary. It would have really put me on the radar about the money situation, about getting injured and not getting paid. Look, would it have been that big of a deal? No. The priority was to put yourself in an environment where you play in the first team, professional level. And I don't know what happened then. And looking back at that situation, if I put myself back in those shoes, what would I do? I'd probably say yes, and I'd give that a go. Because things may have turned out differently at that stage. But hey, maybe we wouldn't be doing the challenge as it is right now, right? Maybe it made things just a little bit interesting. Hey, message to you guys. If you guys get a good opportunity, don't care about the money, don't care about where it is. Sometimes you gotta go for it. You just gotta say yes and then deal with it. And looking back, probably what I should have done. So finally, if I had to put these in a ranking of most preferred to least preferred, I'd go with Kazis Pradishka at 5. I'd then go with Vasas at 4. At number 3, I'd go with Australian team. Then number 2, do you go Wimbledon, English football, or do you go Holland football? Number 2 for me would have to be Volendam, and number 1, AFC Wimbledon. Because English football, I've always looked at it from a distance and been like, wow, what an experience it would be to play in English football, proper English football with English fans. What an experience that would be, I always thought.
All right, now, for me, these situations are some of the times in life where I've grown the most. And the reason is because you put under these pressure situations where you have to perform, yeah? You have to perform, you have to get a result, you have to adapt quickly, you know, there's no turning back, you just go to the session every day and you do your very best. And that's why with these trial situations, whether you succeed or whether you fail, and honestly most times you probably are gonna fail, it's to always take everything as feedback, okay? It takes one person to believe in you, and if you take on the feedback that you get from every single one of these pressure situations, opportunities, that is the best thing for you, because you know what you can improve, you know what you did well, you know what you need to double down on, and you know what you can double down on improving. So that's what we love to do. Always take those situations, love it, enjoy it, and hopefully you got something out of me just sharing that stuff with you. And with that being said, I'm gonna start my workout now here. Great way to finish off the day. Achilles, it's getting there. It's getting a little bit better, but hey, it's only been one day since yesterday, so it's gonna be at least a few more days before I can get properly back on feet. Otherwise, guys, hope you guys enjoyed day 35 of the 100-day challenge, and see you tomorrow.